This week on Uncut Gems with Slim. In the world that we live in, we've been conditioned to feel like we need to explain ourselves when the answer is no. When someone asks a question and your answer is yes, no one ever asks for explanation for your yes. If you give someone a yes, it's easily accepted by other people. Yet when it's a no, there's always questions like why this and why that. Uncut Gems, that's the name. Y'all, we are back another Monday. Man, is it me or is March doing the most? Okay, I don't know about y'all, but I don't know. I just feel like the weeks have been jam-packed, busy, booked and busy. Shout out to Jesus. But just a lot of things been going on. And I just been feeling like a little snowball that just keep rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling. And it's just a lot going on. But I'm excited to see the light of the finish line of March. So y'all comment below and let me know how y'all March has been going so far. I want to talk about how I've been feeling lately. And I feel like I've been putting this pressure on me to have to show up for everybody. And what I come to realize, oftentimes that pressure is self-inflicted. Nobody said that I gotta show up for other people, but in my heart I'm such a dependable friend, and I just care about other people to the point where I just enjoy being able to show up for people, especially people who I feel don't have the most support and things like that. And y'all, it gets tiring. I know I'm not the only one who feels this internal pressure to show up for people and, do the things that you can do and max out yourself, burning the wick at both ends, just trying to show up for everybody else and kind of putting your stuff on the back burner. And for me, I wouldn't necessarily say that I've been putting myself on the back burner, but what I have been doing is trying to boil two pots on the front burners at once. And it's just a lot to lock in on to be able to, give yourself in both areas. And I talked about it a few weeks ago, I believe towards the beginning of this season, about how you got to give everything your best and not your all. And I'm not gonna hold you. Lately, I've been trying to give everything my all versus giving certain things my best, and just not splitting up my 100% instead of trying to be 100% in every detail of what's going on in my life and in my friends' lives and all those kind of things like that. And this I guess unannounced pressure that I be putting on myself to show up for everybody, it's really kind of pushed me into this zone where I'm in a mood where I want to be selfish. I am not trying to be out here in these streets stressed out just trying to do all the things for all the people. And I've really just been kind of getting in that zone where I'm baby, I gotta do me and I gotta put me first. And that includes people you're emotionally invested in, people that you're physically invested in showing up in, as far as if you're attending things for people, showing up for people tangibly. I've been having to check myself as far as how often I put other people's needs before my own. And although I've never been a yes woman in life, I'm more so the type of person who be I'll try to do what I can. But in that I'll try to do what I can moment, I'll really try my best to show up as much as I can for the people who ask me to show up for them and things like that. And so that can be just as bad as being a yes woman, because you're again putting that pressure on yourself to show up in a way that you may not have the capacity to show up in this season. And seasons change, things come and go, and so sometimes your availability to pour into other people may shift depending on the season that you're in accordance to how you need to fill yourself back up and how you need to pour into yourself. And what I had to remind myself is a episode we did a couple years ago, and it was the power of no. And it's okay to say no sometimes. As someone who considers themselves to be like supportive and a dependable friend, it can be very hard for you to say no and say it unapologetically. When you feel the need to show up for other people, sometimes you can unintentionally like neglect showing up for yourself. And that's what I want to kind of address today, so we can refocus a little bit. And by we, I mean me. Like, I really be talking to myself when I be doing these episodes. And I had to realize, like, every time I'm like, well, I just have to do this and I have to do that and I have to show up here and I have to do that. And it's like, girl, who told you you had to show up for this person every week? Who told you you had to show up in this capacity? Who told you that you had to show up in a way that is beyond what you can contribute right now? Like, who told you you had to do all that? You know what I'm saying? And I also feel like I'm fairly generous, and that can add to the pressure sometimes, because it's like, you know, yeah, I could be doing XYZ for myself right now, but it will warm my heart to be able to show up for my friend in this way on this day, even though your schedule is like, baby, I don't know how I'm gonna do it. So sometimes it can be hard to navigate those areas where you want to show up for other people, but you also have to consider like yourself. So backtracking to the episode I was telling you guys about, where we were talking about like the power of saying no, I expressed how important it is to just say no, and how no is a complete sentence. And just to kind of recap that episode, we discussed how funny it is that when someone asks a question and your answer is yes, no one ever like ask for an explanation for your yes. It's never like, oh, well, why are you coming to my birthday dinner? Why are you able to support me in this way? And it's always a thing where like, if you give someone a yes, it's easily accepted by other people. Like, it's not challenged, it's not questioned, it's just like, okay, period, like pull up. Yet when it's a no, there's always questions like, oh, well, why can't you show up? Or what are you doing that you can't do this? Or why this and why that? And I kind of feel like in the world that we live in, we've been conditioned to feel like we need to explain ourselves when the answer is no. And again, I just want to recap and reiterate that no is a complete sentence. Like, you can say it and that is acceptable. Just like you check it on a questionnaire, check no, period. That's fine. You can leave it at that. And you could be okay with leaving it at that versus feeling that internal pressure to have to explain yourself or feel guilty about having to say no this time. And again, I'm not going to talk about you. I'm going to talk about me. And I feel like I have to learn to release that self-inflicted pressure to feel the need to like explain my no's, or like the expectation that I place on myself to show up for others during times when I need to show up for myself. And ways that you can show up for yourself, simply put, is self-care. Okay, and I know we kind of glorify self-care nowadays, and self-care can look different for everyone. And so this brings me to the topic I want to kind of discuss today, which is how we need to make sure that we're maintaining us. Like, make sure that you are maintaining you. And of course, broadly speaking, that could include self-care, therapy, prayer time, going to the gym, whatever you do for you, that can fall under that umbrella of taking care of you. But I also mean like maintaining who you are as a person. Like, who are you? And what are your likes? What are your dislikes? What brings you excitement and joy? Like, those kind of things. Because I feel like a lot of times when we think of self-care, it can sometimes be external, and there's nothing wrong with doing like external things for your self-care days and stuff like that. But I want to zero in on like who we are. And although I'm not married, I ain't got no kids, like something that I've witnessed over the years is situations where people stray away from who they are because they get consumed by the hats that they wear in life. Whether that be parenthood, being a business owner, a leader at your church, whatever it may be, the hats that we wear oftentimes describes what we do, but doesn't help us maintain who we are. And it is so vital to take care of yourself. It is so vital to take care of self. So I want to take a moment and have you ask yourself, what do you like to do that's not tied to one of the hats you wear? When was the last time you did something that you enjoyed that, again, was not tied to the hats that you wear. So not what your kids like, not what your husband or wife likes, not what your friends like, but like, what do you want to do? Do you even remember what you like? I feel like this detachment is often like recognized and acknowledged once you done had kids and your kids grow up and they out the house. That's when I normally like notice this in adults, right? It's like those parents who like just don't know what to do with their time. They don't know what to do with each other after their kids grow up and move out the house, because the past 18 or so years, you've just been consumed with the hat you wore of parenthood and, you know, showing up for your kids and all these things. I ain't gonna say a lot of times, but sometimes, you know, those parents can get detached from maintaining who they are as a person, and then they have to relearn it after their kids like grow up and move out the house. And so I just want to bring this situation kind of to light, no matter what stage you are in life, whether you're like me, you're in your late 20s, early 30s, and you're single, or whether you're married with kids, or whether your kids done moved out the house. Like, I want this episode to serve as a reminder to be intentional about maintaining the things that make up who you are, the hobbies that you enjoy, the things that you like to do as an individual. So for people who might be around my age, this detachment might look a little bit more like you packing your off time from work with going out, enjoying your friends, but neglecting like your me time outside of you getting your nails done or getting your hair done. Like, outside of your appointment Olympics, what are you doing to, you know, have me time? What are you doing to continue the journey of self-awareness, to enjoy the things that you know about yourself, whether that be, I like going skating, I like going bowling, I like doing XYZ, I like whatever it is. What are you doing to maintain the characteristics about you that you love, or improve the ones that you don't love so much? Like, what are the things that you are doing to maintain who you are? I also feel like sometimes we can become so consumed by our daily lives that we don't even remember like what our hobbies are. Or even worse, we place our identities in what we do and not who we are. And that can subtly sneak up on you too. And I say that because I had a job once, and like, I didn't think that I felt like that girl just because I had the job, but I walked with a different confidence, knowing that I was who I was in my position. And it made me realize, like, whoa, baby, we need to have that same energy. If we're confident when we're on the clock in that position with that title, we need to be confident off the clock. And so I had to like check myself and make sure that I wasn't placing my identity in what I did. Or even, now let me bring it to my church folks. So if you serving, and say you're serving in a capacity that's not seen, that can show you whether you're placing some of your identity in what you do. Because if you don't want to serve in an area that's not seen, then it's like, okay, well, why are we serving? Are we serving to be seen? That's another topic in itself, but those are different ways that you can kind of check yourself and make sure that you're not placing your identity in what you do rather than who you are. So if you've ever found yourself in like similar scenarios like the ones I'm kind of chatting about, my hope and my desire is for this episode to bring awareness to you, to start prioritizing yourself and maintaining who you are beyond what you do. Of course, you guys know I have a challenge of the week for you, and I want you to do an activity that brings you joy, or partake in a long lost hobby that you once had that you haven't done in a while. Whether that be something you love to do, it can be eating at your favorite restaurant, going on a walk, experiencing nature, whatever it is that allows you to prioritize your me time this week, that's what I want you to do. And I also want to encourage you to kind of work that into your schedule, so it can be a consistent thing. Like, okay, every Tuesday night is gonna be date night, we gonna go on a solo date, or every one day out of the week, I'm gonna eat lunch at a different restaurant, or I'm gonna change up my scenery, like whatever it be. I want you to kind of work that into your weekly schedule so you can have a set time where you get to just do you and be you without any of the hats that you wear. Like, you get to enjoy who you are. As always, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Uncut Gems with Slim. And until next week. Uncut Gems, Uncut Gems.